Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I have to admit, the moment I heard that Serena Baldwin is finally coming back to Port Charles, I found myself smiling. If you've been watching General Hospital as long as I have, you know that some characters may disappear for years, but they never really leave the hearts of longtime fans. And for those viewers who started watching more recently, I completely understand why the question keeps coming up. Who exactly is Serena Baldwin, and why are so many people excited about her return? Well, from where I'm sitting, Serena isn't just another familiar face returning for a quick visit. She's part of one of the most important legacy families in General Hospital history. Her story is connected to love, loss, sacrifice, and family bonds that stretch back decades. That's why her return feels bigger than it might seem at first glance. When I think about Serena's beginnings, I'm reminded of the kind of emotional storytelling that made soap operas so special in the first place. Serena is the daughter of fan favorite Scott Baldwin and his late wife, Dominique Stanton, but her arrival into the world was anything but ordinary. Because of Dominique's medical struggles, Lucy Coe became Serena's surrogate mother and carried the baby herself. Now, if you've watched daytime television for any length of time, you know family stories can get complicated in a hurry. Still, this particular storyline always stood out to me because it wasn't just about drama. It was about people making sacrifices for the people they loved. Looking back now, it remains one of those stories that helped shape the Baldwin family for years afterward. Serena was born on General Hospital in 1993, but many fans actually got to know her much better on Port Charles, the show's popular spin-off series. That's where she spent much of her childhood and where viewers watched her grow up through some difficult and emotional circumstances. I often tell newer viewers that Serena represents a whole era of storytelling that many fans still remember fondly. She wasn't one of those characters who existed only to support someone else's plot. She had a history, relationships, family connections, and a place in the larger canvas of Port Charles. For longtime viewers, watching Serena grow up felt a little like watching a family friend grow up. What makes her story even more emotional is how much loss has surrounded the Baldwin family over the years. Scott Baldwin has experienced more heartbreak than most characters could handle, and Serena was always one of the bright spots in his life. That's one reason why many fans have never forgotten her, even during the years when she wasn't appearing on screen. The last time Serena returned to General Hospital was in 2017, and I remember thinking at the time that her appearance felt far too brief. She came back to Port Charles to attend the funeral of her grandfather, Lee Baldwin. It was a touching moment because it reminded viewers that the Baldwin family legacy was still alive, even if many of its younger members were living elsewhere. But just as quickly as she arrived, Serena left again. 3 episodes later, she was gone, and the silence that followed was almost surprising. No major updates, no regular appearances, no real clues about where her life had taken her. Year after year passed, and many viewers simply assumed that the character had been placed on the shelf indefinitely. That's why this upcoming return feels so important to me. After nearly a decade away from Port Charles, Serena is finally coming back, this time portrayed by veteran actress Kelly Kruger. And if there's one thing I've learned after decades of watching General Hospital, it's that characters usually don't come back after such a long absence unless the writers have something meaningful planned for them. Honestly, that's the part that has me most curious. Serena left as a young woman, but she's returning as someone who has lived an entire life off screen. Think about everything that could have happened during those missing years. New relationships, old grudges, family secrets, personal struggles, hidden achievements. In the soap world, a decade of unseen life can provide enough material for years of storytelling. I also can't help wondering how Serena's return will affect Scott Baldwin. A father and daughter reunion after so many years has the potential to be emotional, heartfelt, and maybe even painful. Families often carry old wounds, and time doesn't always heal them. Sometimes it simply gives them more room to grow. As I look ahead to July, I find myself feeling the same excitement that many longtime viewers are feeling. Serena Baldwin may not be one of the names that newer fans immediately recognize, but she represents an important piece of General Hospital history. Her roots run deep, her family connections matter, and her return has the potential to reopen stories that have been dormant for years. And if there's one thing I know about Port Charles, it's this. When someone disappears for a long time and suddenly comes home, they rarely return empty-handed. More often than not, they bring a story that changes everything. This is where things start to get really interesting for me. The last time I saw Serena Baldwin on screen, she was still very much the young daughter Scott was desperately trying to protect. In fact, one of the biggest reasons Scott left her in Paris was to keep her far away from danger. And honestly, after everything that girl went through, I couldn't blame him. Many longtime viewers may remember that Serena's life was anything but peaceful. She wasn't simply the daughter of a beloved Port Charles family. At one point, she became a target because of her inheritance and her family connections. She was kidnapped by mobsters and repeatedly found herself caught in situations that no child should ever have to face. Looking back, it's easy to understand why Scott felt that putting an ocean between Serena and Port Charles was the safest choice. But here's what keeps running through my mind. Serena may have left as a vulnerable young woman, but she is not coming back as that same person. Years have passed. She has built a life away from Port Charles. She has experienced things we know nothing about. That's what makes her return so exciting. The writers now have an entire unseen chapter of her life to explore. I actually think that mystery is one of the strongest parts of this story. Nobody knows exactly why Serena is returning after all these years. There has been no official explanation, and that leaves the door wide open for speculation. Did something happen in Paris? Has she discovered a secret connected to her family? Is she returning because someone reached out to her? Or perhaps she's finally ready to reclaim a place in the town she left behind so long ago. One thing I feel fairly confident about is that Serena's relationship with Scott will be at the center of her comeback. As a father, Scott spent years trying to protect his daughter from the dangers surrounding Port Charles. Yet protecting someone from danger often means sacrificing precious time together. That's why I think there could be some emotional scenes ahead. A reunion after so many years should be filled with love, but it could also bring questions, regrets, and conversations that have been waiting to happen for a very long time. And then there's Lucy Coe. If you've watched General Hospital as long as I have, you know that Lucy has always shared a special bond with Serena. Their connection goes far beyond friendship because Lucy played such an important role in bringing Serena into the world. Seeing these two women reconnect after years apart could create some genuinely heartfelt moments. Lord knows Port Charles could use a few emotional family reunions amid all the chaos and drama. At the same time, I can't help but wonder whether Serena's return will eventually place her in the middle of new conflicts. This is Port Charles, after all. People rarely return just to exchange hugs and catch up over coffee. The town has a funny way of pulling everyone into unexpected trouble. If Serena is sticking around permanently, chances are she'll become involved in major storylines sooner rather than later. What makes me even more optimistic is the news that Kelly Kruger has reportedly signed a contract role rather than a brief guest appearance. To me, that's a very encouraging sign. It suggests that the writers are investing in Serena's future instead of bringing her back for a short, nostalgic visit. And honestly, I think that's exactly what this character deserves. As I look ahead, I find myself genuinely excited to see what comes next. Serena Baldwin has been gone for years, but her history with Scott, Lucy, and the Baldwin family gives her plenty of reasons to matter in today's Port Charles. More importantly, she arrives carrying years of untold stories that viewers have never seen. For me, that's what makes this return so promising. Serena isn't coming back to revisit the past. She's coming back with a chance to create an entirely new future. And if General Hospital plays this story right, her return could end up being one of the most rewarding surprises of the year.